3 years ago, Sarah Chen thought she was just another face in the crowd. She paid her taxes, voted in elections, bought groceries with her credit card. What she didn't know was that every swipe, every click, every step she took was being fed into a machine that knew she'd lose her job 6 months before she did, a machine that flagged her as a flight risk when she missed 2 mortgage payments, a machine that put her on a watch list because her ex-boyfriend once Googled bomb-making instructions. Sarah never signed up for this, neither did you. But somewhere in a glass tower in Denver, a company called Palantir has been watching, learning, predicting. They don't want your attention. They already own your future. This is the story of how the most powerful tech company you've never heard of became the invisible hand controlling your life. Remember when you were a kid and you thought magic was just in fairy tales? In Lord of the Rings, the Palantir was a crystal ball that could see anywhere, anyone, anytime. But here's the thing about fairy tales, they're warnings disguised as stories. 2003, PayPal had just sold to eBay for $1.5 billion. Peter Thiel, the billionaire libertarian who believed democracy was a failed experiment, had a revelation. What if we could build Tolkien's Seeing Stone, but for real? But not for magic, for power. PayPal had taught him something terrifying. Every transaction tells a story. Every click reveals a secret. Every pattern predicts a future. If you could see all the patterns, you could control all the futures. That's when Palantir was born. Not as a company, as a weapon. September 11th, 2001. The day America realized it was blind. The CIA had the flight school records, the NSA had the phone calls, the FBI had the suspicious behavior reports, but they couldn't connect the dots, so they made a deal with the devil. 2008. The CIA's venture capital arm secretly invested in Palantir. The same year, Palantir's software codenamed Gotham was deployed in Afghanistan. Suddenly, American soldiers could map entire terrorist networks in real time. Your uncle's Facebook posts, your cousin's travel history, your neighbor's credit card purchases, all feeding into one digital brain, and it worked. Too well. Because once you teach a machine to hunt terrorists, how do you stop it from hunting everyone else? Here's what no one told you about the war on terror. It never ended. It just changed address. 2012, New Orleans Police Department gets a gift. Palantir's crime-fighting software. Free trial. No strings attached. Within months, they're predicting crimes before they happen. Minority Report wasn't science fiction. It was a business plan. Your son's school starts using Palantir to identify at-risk students. Risk of what? They never say. Your hospital starts using Palantir to track COVID patients, and who visits them, and who they visit. Your local police start using Palantir to predict who might commit crimes, based on where you live, who you know, what you buy. But here's the kicker. They never asked your permission. They never told you it was happening. They just started watching. And most people still don't know. Imagine a box. You put in everything about a person, their purchases, their movements, their relationships, their secrets, and the box spits out a number. That number decides if they get a job, if they get a loan, if they get arrested, if they get bombed. Palantir has 3 magic boxes. Gotham for hunting people the government doesn't like, Foundry for predicting what people will do next, Apollo for making sure the other 2 never stop learning. But here's the terrifying part. Even the people using these boxes don't know how they work. The algorithms are black boxes inside black boxes. A police officer in Chicago gets a recommendation to arrest someone. A judge gets a recommendation to deny bail. A general gets a recommendation to authorize a drone strike, but nobody knows why. They just trust the machine. And the machine never explains itself. Peter Thiel once said something that should chill you to the bone. I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. The man who created the surveillance machine that watches you doesn't believe you should have a say in how it's used. Every crisis is Christmas morning for Palantir. COVID hits, Palantir wins contracts with the CDC, NHS, and Pentagon. Ukraine war, Palantir embeds with NATO forces, running battlefield simulations in real time. Crime wave, cities line up to buy predictive policing systems. Market crash, Hedge funds use Palantir's AI to bet against your 401k. Thiel doesn't just profit from chaos, he architects it. Create the problem, sell the solution, expand the system, rinse, repeat, forever. Alex Karp is not what you'd expect from a tech CEO. He has a PhD in philosophy, he practices martial arts, he meditates, he talks about inequality and social justice. He's also the man who turned Palantir into the most secretive surveillance company on Earth. Karp studied psychoanalysis in Germany. He learned how to read people's hidden motivations. Now he's built a machine that reads everyone's hidden motivations. The irony is perfect. The man who studied the human mind has created a system to replace it. In 2020, when Palantir went public, Karp made one thing crystal clear. We are not going to sell this company to people who don't believe in our vision. What's his vision? A world where human judgment is unreliable, where emotional decisions are replaced by algorithmic precision, where freedom is too messy, too unpredictable, too human, where the machine knows what's best for you, even when you don't. You wake up in the morning, your phone tracks your location, your smart TV records your viewing habits, your credit card logs your purchases, your car records your driving patterns, your smart doorbell films your visitors, your fitness tracker monitors your heart rate, your email is scanned for keywords, your social media is analyzed for sentiment. All of this data flows into Palantir systems, not just yours, everyone's, your neighbors, your family, your friends, every connection mapped, every pattern analyzed, every future predicted. You think you're living your life, but you're really just generating data. Data that decides your fate, data you'll never see, data you can't correct, data that's used to judge you before you even know you're being judged. Somewhere in Afghanistan, a father is walking his daughter to school. He doesn't know that his phone's location data has been fed into Palantir's Gotham system. He doesn't know that his purchase of fertilizer 6 months ago triggered an algorithm. He doesn't know that his brother's Google searches have been analyzed by AI. A recommendation appears on a screen in Nevada. Target confirmed. Collateral damage acceptable. Authorization requested. 30 minutes later, they're both dead. Killed by mathematics, killed by patterns, killed by a machine that never met them, never spoke to them, never looked them in the eye. But here's what haunts me. The same algorithm that killed them is analyzing you, right now, deciding what you might do, what you might become, what you might deserve. You know what's beautiful about Palantir's system? The more you resist it, the more data you create. You protest surveillance? That's a data point. You use encrypted messaging? That's a data point. You pay with cash? That's a data point. You stay offline? That's a data point. You rant about privacy? That's a data point. You watch video like this? That's a data point. Every action you take to avoid the system teaches the system about you. Your resistance is not futile. It's data. And data is what they sell. In China, they call it the social credit system. In America, we call it public safety. In Europe, they call it smart cities. But it's all the same thing. A world where human behavior is predicted, managed, and controlled. Where freedom isn't taken away, it's modeled and redirected. The NHS uses Palantir to decide who gets treatment first. Insurance companies use Palantir to decide who gets coverage. Banks use Palantir to decide who gets loans. Schools use Palantir to decide who gets opportunities. Courts use Palantir to decide who gets justice. This isn't about privacy anymore. Privacy is dead. This is about power, who has it, how they use it, and whether you'll ever get it back. Remember Sarah Chen from the beginning? She never found out how Palantir knew she'd lose her job. She never learned why she was flagged as a risk. She never discovered who was watching her. She just adapted, got a new job, paid her bills, stayed quiet, became compliant. That's the real genius of Palantir. They don't need to control you, they just need to predict you. And once they can predict you, they can shape the world around you. The job you get, the loan you're approved for, the neighborhood you can afford, the future you're allowed to have. Palantir doesn't want your data, they want your destiny. And they're not just watching anymore, they're deciding. The question isn't what Palantir knows about you. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because the future isn't coming. It's already here. And it's been watching you this entire time. If this story disturbed you, good. If it made you angry, better. Because anger is the only emotion that creates change. Share this story. Show it to someone who thinks they have nothing to hide. Because the truth is, in a world where everything is recorded, analyzed, and predicted, having nothing to hide is the most dangerous position of all. Here at Story Frames, we follow the threads that others won't pull. We expose the machines that others won't name, one story at a time, until the invisible becomes visible, until the powerful become accountable, until the future becomes ours again. Subscribe if you want to see more, because the next story might be about you, and by then, it might be too late. Palantir, the company that knows everything except when to stop.